Meir, are you ready to take over?
Yes, I'm ready.
Thank you.
Okay, I will share screen. Huh? It's okay. Yeah. Okay. Let me. I think I will start with your permission. The subject of this lecture is the negotiation of the Solar Boq. Am I correct? That's the section now?
Yes, please.
So there are two solar negotiations. One is the solar part of a water project, which is relatively a short part of the total water BOQ. And the second one is the BOQ of solar projects, clinics, and schools, meaning projects which we call them solar, but they are the clinics and the schools projects. I would start with a clinic or school, with your permission. Okay, so I think the solar projects are relatively simple, and there are no, or I can say this, the most expensive part of making a mistake on the BOQ of a solar project will be for Innovation Africa team to go back again for another day due to bad installation or due to coming to the site and not having all the materials to install. So this is the most expensive thing that we can encounter if we not do the BOQ accurately. And I will explain what do I mean. Mainly the BOQ, it has a list of a lot of components, and the negotiation, it's a secondary thing from my perspective. The most important thing is to go over the BOQ and to make sure that it is according to the design. Meaning that if the design includes a lot of wiring cables, and you see in the BOQ that the contractor didn't put enough according to the design, it might cause, again, it's not for certain, but it might cause on-site problems where you come to the site and you don't have enough materials because the contractor put not sufficient equipment or components, and then you have to go back, or he has to go back, or the installation is not as good as expected. I would give an example. If you look at MC4 connectors, it's something very simple, very cheap material, but if you don't verify or inspect in the BOQ that you have the right size of MC4 connector and the right amount, wait a minute, let me reduce it a bit so we can see, and the right amounts, okay, of MC4 connectors, it might lead for the contractor to come to the site with not enough parts, and then the installation will become in less of 3 days, 4 days. And for us, it's a crucial, and that cost us a lot of money. The time of Innovation Africa and the contractor time, and for us to go back again, to take a car, to drive to the site, this is something that cost us a lot of money. So I think the main purpose of going over the BOQ is to see that we have enough equipment and the adequate components according to the design, the right amount of solar panels, the right amount of clamps for the aluminum rails, the right amount of switches, cables. For example, you have this is a 50 meter, 1.5 millimeter single core cable. So if the contractor put 8 in the BOQ, it should fit the design, meaning that when you did the design, you saw that this is the amount of wiring needed. By the way, if it's more, it's also okay. It's no problem if he puts a bit more. We don't want to be always over the edge. One thing I also would recommend for us to do in the following weeks is there are a lot of materials in this list which are regular plain materials like nails and screws and switches and wires. For each country, for the electrical department, we have an inventory owner. It's the guy who manages the inventory for all the equipment that we send and all the equipment that the local team buy locally for the installations. I don't know if all of Innovation Africa employees knows, but many of the solar installations are in-house. Almost all of the installation is in-house. In some places we use contractors, and in some we use contractor to do part of the things. But our in-house electricians are doing many of the installation work and also the hardware purchase. Some of the equipment we send from Israel, like the energy box, the mini energy box, and light bulbs. And that is why we have an inventory owner in each country or in the electrical department. So the role of this inventory owner in each country in the following weeks will be for the simple components in the list, the white label components. He will need to make a minimum price and a maximum price for each component in the country, that if the contractor give us a price which is in that range, it is okay by us. When you go over the BOQ, the second thing that you need to do, the first is to see that it is according to the design. The second thing will be to see that the price is inside the range that you created. You need to create a table of ranges of prices per country, and you need to see for the white label components that the price is inside the range, okay? If it's out of the range, you will put it on side, and then you will see the total amount of for the entire BOQ. You see if it's also out of range, and then we can go back to the contractor and bargain with him and ask him why the price is so high for that specific component. By the way, if he insists, we can also buy this locally. We will see how much time consuming this process will be for us, but maybe it will be worthwhile. Another thing, when you before bargaining with the contractor, is you see that we have installation labor and logistics. Now, in water projects, it's a bit more complicated, but in solar projects, since we are sending the energy box and we know that we have, for the big system, 30 light bulbs, and for the small system, we have 5 light bulbs, and we know that we have, if it's 30 light bulbs, it's about, give and take, 20 switches and 2 sockets in every installation, and we have the 4 solar panels on roof for the big one, and the 1 or 2 small ones for the mini, we can evaluate the labor. I made a list of hours, which I think, and I will share it with the electricians in all the countries. I made a list of the hours I think a typical installation should last. And we will ask our contractors not to just give us a big number of installation labor, like a total number, but also give us an hourly labor cost and estimate the number of hours they will think it will take them. So installation labor we will have per hour, and this here the value would be the number of hours that the contractor estimates. Now, again, it will vary between projects. In some projects we are sometimes, I don't know, we need to power toilets which are 70 meters away from the main block. So you need to do trenching and you need to do the piping of the electricity. That thing takes time. And in other projects, we don't have to do it, or it's much closer. But again, once we will have, again, a range of cost between the minimum and the maximum of hourly labor of electrician, and we will get from the contractor the evaluation of hours, the number of hours he is claiming for money, we will be able to verify the BOQ or to bargain with him about the price. So I think that's it about the solar. We can go over all the details, but this is something I prefer to do with the electricians. Yes, sorry.
Meir, another point that we haven't spoken much about is all the extras that sometimes we are doing. For example, we know that in schools we are buying laptops, we are buying projectors, and we're buying desks.
Yeah.
and other items, and in medical centers. And my question to you is,
Yeah.
or my comment is that it's true that sometimes if the donor agrees, we are also asking what kind of medical equipment we can buy and give to the medical center that could use now the energy. Now that we have installed the solar energy, why not to take advantage and allow them to use some other medical equipment than only the refrigerator? But for that, Meir, and tell me if you agree, we have to make sure that the electrical engineers are making sure that those medical equipment that are where that the nurse is asking for
Mm-hmm.
will have enough energy, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Eh,
So we have also a short list of medical devices, typical medical devices like electrical thermometer and electronic weight that we can add to such projects. It is not a final list. I agree. We should create a final list per country or for all countries from them to select and to see availability in each country, and to add it here by requirement if the donor asks. So we can for sure add another line here and add it. But it starts at the design of the electrical appliances, and there we see that we can support it from electrical point of view, regardless the money and the.
Okay,
Yeah.
and just as another comment you mentioned about inventory.
Yeah.
Inventory is very important, and this is why we are now adding another software or database,
Mm-hmm.
which is called Odoo, and Odoo will
Yeah.
allow us to have an inventory app for whoever is in charge of the inventory will be able to use that app, because it is important. If you buy something, we have to make sure that it's been used, where, when, and what is being left. So we need somebody to track the inventory, and it's an important part. Thank you, Meir.
Yeah, for sure. So I think what we will do, the current inventory personnel taken from the electrical department in each country, sometimes they are not electricians, but they are part of the local team. I think all of them should have a training about to do during the beginning of 2022 and migrate the Excel spreadsheets to Odoo. Currently, the work is good with the Excel spreadsheets. We started it because we came to the place where we were sending a lot of equipment and which cost a lot of money, and also local teams sometimes got stuck because they don't have certain components and we weren't aware of it. So it enables Tara and us to better plan always ahead what to install, what to do, what to prepare here, and what to advance and ship. But yeah, we should migrate that to Odoo. Yeah. Okay. As I said 2 minutes ago, I think for all the components and materials, I would have a more detailed discussion when we would do solar in depth. There are a few things to consider. Some of the components here I would maybe put inside the energy box, like the DC and AC breakers and the surge arrestor. It's a question I would like to discuss with the electricians and to hear their opinion and to decide together.
So
So
just a reminder, on Monday morning from 9 to 12:30, you have 3.5 hours.
yeah,
Only the electrical engineers,
yes,
only on Monday morning, going to spend 3.5 hours with Meir to talk about everything and nothing, really to go more in depth. As Meir said, he is going to give a more in-depth presentation, and then for you to talk about different items. Okay, so thank you, Meir.
yes. Okay. I would move now to the BOQ of the water, if it's okay.
Please.
Okay, so the BOQ of section, the solar section of the water project. So it's not a very long section. It's quite short, and it has like a few very important components that, if are not verified carefully, could cause damage to the project and also cost a lot of money, and it takes time to install them and to order them. So these are the things to consider. But other than that, it's very straightforward. The most important thing, again, and the stage of the BOQ comes only after the design was approved and after the water engineer and the electrical engineer have selected together the pump, and the electrical engineers finished the design of the solar panels and the controller or the inverter. After the design is ready, then we move to the BOQ, and basically what we need to do is to compare, again, that the BOQ is aligned with the design. The submersible solar pump is like in the design, and the brand and the number of solar panels are inside. Other electrical components are the floating switch, the pressure switch. Usually they will not be both on the same BOQ. This stage needs to be, again, with the design and the water engineer, you need to make sure that if there are pressure switch, then it's in the right amount, if it's 2 towers or 1 tower, and if there is a floating switch, that it is present. Electrical cables, again, MC4 connectors, lighting arrestors, fuses, everything like the design. More things to consider. Armored cable in case we have a solar system which is remote from the borehole when we need to generate the electricity far from the pump. So we need to bury the cable. So we need an armored electrical cable. Battery and power supply, it's in case that we are putting service lights, and in the future they will be coming from Israel with the power supply and the battery. I will try very hard that for all the projects this year, starting the first ones, we will also already have the lights and the power supply from Israel, so you will not have to source them locally. We are getting the shipment next week. I will push it very fast. Basically, that's it. I would prefer to move to questions now, or comments.
It doesn't seem like there are any questions in the chat, which is good. Does
Or people are
want to write anything, want to unmute themselves to ask anything in specifically, or does everybody have all the information we need? Let's see.
I just want to comment, Michal, that the fact that we will supply the service lights in the future, it doesn't mean that you don't need to put a service light in every project until we supply it. So every new project have to require a service light.
And you have to go back to the old projects to install the security light and service light in the old projects, please.
Yes, but for it not to be a too logistic headache for Innovation Africa, because it's very hard to move fast forward. We have so much to do in 2022. So I ordered a lot of service lights, and batteries and power supplies, and we will be shipping them from Israel. So I will do it for all countries simultaneously. So it's just taking a box and installing it inside the water project. It will be as plug and play. We will work very hard to do it this year. So we will not lose a lot of time going back and doing hard work.
טוב, בוא נעבור לדבר השני. All right, thank you, Meir. Maybe we can go to the next.
Just one question in the file says, what is the recommended installation depth for the cable between the borehole and the tower?
If it's a remote. So I think we wish Shalom was here. I think we did it a 1 meter depth and a 40 centimeter width, like the water piping, but it shouldn't run inside the trench of the water, but in parallel trench.
Okay. The second question here, would you recommend that the electrical cable be in a different trench with the water line, or can they lay in the same single trench?
A different trench.
Different trench.
But parallel, very close, but a different.
Okay, and Karabo says, in South Africa, most of our pump control systems come installed in a box, so it wouldn't be easy to tell you how much each component cost. So how do we go about that?
South Africa, it's a different ball game. Also, the projects are extremely complicated from electrical point of view. They have VSDs and a lot of things that Ben and I will have to sit and with them together and understand how to either simplify it or currently it's a bit complicated also because they need a lot of electricity, access electricity to other usages beside the pump. And all the pumps are AC and working with VFD, so it's relatively complicated. We will have to find a way to simplify it.
So South Africa, again, special cases. And the very last question from Dennis, do we have a specific brand of submersible cables? Is that listed in the BOQ or in the recommended list somewhere?
I have 2 brands that I found. I will share them with everyone.
Terrific, thank you.
Okay, yeah, okay.
We just got one more. Do you recommend that we sleeve the submersible cable underground, or does it not really matter?
Again, sorry.
Do you recommend that they sleeve the submersible cable underground, or is it not necessary?
So if it's an armored cable, it doesn't need to be sleeved. But if it's a regular flexible cable, it needs to be sleeved in a PVC piping. So it depends.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Meir. Thank you, everyone.
Meir, are you going to go over the Inno app?
Yes, you mean the phone app. 1 second.
Yes, please.
Okay. So.
By the way, we are expecting all of you to start using the forms as soon as next week when you start with your new projects. And then
we want to see forms.
And then in a week from now or a few weeks from now, we're going to have a session where we're going to show you how it looks on the database. Because right now you're only looking at the phone, but I promise you that you're going to be quite surprised to see the type of reports we're getting on the database. And we're going to discuss brainstorms, and all of you will have access to it at some point, especially your managers. So you're going to understand a lot more in a few weeks' time. Just trust me. Do it right. Use the forms. It will make your life much easier. So now we're going to go over Meir, going to go over solar or water, Meir?
1 second. I need 2 more minutes. 1 second.
No problem. I want to say again, thank you to Tara. She worked so hard on finalizing those forms. Only on Sunday we finished them.
Constant work in progress. I already found like 15 other things I want to change. So. But I have to say, it's so nice now that Jeremy has built a platform that we can, multiple people can work on it. So myself and Susie and others. So it's going to be way easier to improve these forms and quicker.
Okay, so let's start with water. So what we are going to go over now is the, wait a minute, let me find the right project.
We're always using Uganda. I think the other countries are jealous.
No, it's because Jeremy created a demo project.
Aha. Okay.
Fake project.
Okay.
So for us not to ruin, I don't know. So we are going to an in-process water project currently, and we are starting a new form. And in this section, we're going to talk about the electrical supervision form, and we start a new form. Okay. So as all the other supervision forms, the time for it's for the electrical engineer of Innovation Africa to perform the supervision form. it needs to be performed once the contractor has finished or finished at least the stages that the electrician wants to supervise. So it needs to come after and to see, to evaluate the work. For a water project, we start from top and go to bottom. The first thing is solar array system installed, yes or no, and a description if needed. Also, a picture is a good option always. Although we understand that the pictures with solar panels for a water tower, it's a bit hard, but try to take a good picture. Afterwards, the electrician should measure using a multimeter when the radiation, again, when the solar radiation is strong. It is always recommended when you want to validate performance of solar array, you need to do it. Wait a minute. You need to do it, let's hope it will last. You need to do it when the radiation is strong. So you need to measure with multimeter on the terminals input of the circuit breaker, the plus and minus coming from the solar array, and to write here the value. Okay. Then lighting protector installed, yes or no. Description and picture of the lighting protector. Security lights installed, yes or no. In the description, please write how many security lights. Okay, we want to see that there is no more or less than what we agreed according to the design. Security lights tested and functioning properly. Now that's a bit of a tricky check, because to check that the security light is on, meaning that you need to wait until it is dark, and you need to pass by and to see that the lights are on when you are passing underneath the tower, and after a while they turn off again. I understand that the supervision, you cannot do it from start to ending all in one time, but since a water project, it's a very long project, I expect the electrician to find the right time after sunset and to do this specific check. Controller installed, yes or no, and description. We decided that it's taken as for granted that everything here is according to the BOQ, and the BOQ is aligned with the design. So we don't need here again for the supervisor, for the electrician to write that it is according to the design or according to BOQ. We assume it is like this. The electrician must understand that when he's saying yes, it means that it is according to the design and the BOQ, and if not, he needs to write it on the description. Water meter installed, yes or no? Take a picture. Monitoring system installed, yes or no? Picture. Monitoring system sending good data, yes or no? And this means that he needs also to check with the phone application that good readings are coming from the project. Fuses installed, circuit breakers installed, yes, no, picture. Service lights installed. Earthing system installed. Measure earthing system resistivity with the multimeter. It needs to measure the value of the earthing system give and to write it. All electrical components are wired and connected according to the electrical diagram. So the electrician will have an electrical diagram of exactly how all the components are supposed to be connected. It means the electrical box, the controller or inverter, and the monitoring box and the lighting arrestor, how everything needs to be connected to the bus bar and the earthing system. And if everything is according to the diagram, click yes. If no, we expect in the description to explain what is not connected accurately. Oh, wait a minute.
Please keep in mind that that list is a reminder for you the electrical engineers to know what to do. So it's not only a list for you to type and send information to us, not at all. It's for you to remind you, oh, let me make sure this is done, this is done, this is done. And if it's not done, you negotiate with the contractor. It's your job, meaning we're not going to do it. We're not the one who's going to call the contractor. You're the one who is going to do it. Yeah. This is really for all of you. The forms are a reminder about your to-do list. What needs to be accomplished. Yeah. And if it's not, it's you who needs to negotiate with the contractor and make it clear to the contractor. The fact that we are receiving the information, it's great. We need it, but we're not going to do anything about it. It's not our job. It's yours. We're just going to keep the data. We're going to keep it in our database, but we're expecting you to finding the solutions. Okay. Is it clear? Okay.
Okay. The next step will be to check that water pump tested and functioning properly. What do we mean? We don't mean that the daily yield is as planned for this supervision. What we mean is that the pump is going into action when the tank is not full and when the controller or inverter screen doesn't give any error, meaning that it is working okay and everything is well connected and functioning. Floating or pressure switch installed, yes or no? Floating pressure switch tested and functioning properly. Now this check, again, since it doesn't have to be a one-time check, it could be on a period of a whole day or even a number of days. This check, it means that when the tank is full, you see that the floating switch or the pressure switch disconnect the pump. It's also the electrician role to connect it and to adjust the pressure switch. So in any case, he will have to do it. It also means that after the floating or the pressure switch disconnect the pump, you need to open the taps to see the water going out and on a certain stage, and you need to measure the amount of water that went out when the floating or pressure switch disconnected again the pump and return it into work. So that's another thing to check. Basically, that's it.
Thank you, Meir. Unbelievable. Thank you very much. Do you want to take us through the solar, or is it similar, or we have done that already?
No, it's not similar, but we can have questions on this and then go to the solar, or go to the solar. And...
Yeah, no, please, let's take some questions.
Okay.
Okay, your question master. A suggestion in taking pictures on the solar from the top of the 10-meter structure. This is from Mr. A in South Africa. The country may have their electrical engineer trained on working at heights or similar training, so they are certified to climb to the 10-meter structure to the top. Of course, that depends on the country laws, but if you have people who are able, wearing, of course, the PPE and the safety gear, who are able to take pictures from high up above, it's always recommended. And that means we can also get beautiful shots of the tower for our donors as well. A question from Gabby. As oftentimes we don't have the monitoring units before a project is actually completed, please confirm that the team will need to return back into the forms at a later date to fill out the monitoring section.
So yeah, of course. By the way, it's not only the monitoring units. I think in these forms, maybe they will have good time to fill part of it. And then later on, when other parts of the projects are completed and are ready to be tested, they can re-edit the form and keep filling it up. I think it's really hard to do this form in one time. Only if you come on the last day when everything is ready. But since it is our electrician who's doing the supervision, he will be there along the way a couple of times. And I think in each time he can do a part of it and not wait for the project to end and to do all of it. Regarding the water monitoring, again, it's something that we need to be better at that. And I mean the Israeli team, the Israeli electrical department, and send it in advance. It needs to be ready in the offices for installation sooner.
Also, Meir, just note, it's also a question in the completed monitoring form. So if the project is already moved to completed before the installation happens, we have a place to mark it as well in the monitoring forms.
Okay.
Okay, great. So that's just a reminder to everyone that when you are in the field, you can save it, you can submit it when you get better internet, but you can always go back into the form. You can edit, you can update. It's going to be there continuously. And that leads us to the question from Zambia. Do they need to open multiple forms for each visit? So is it a new form per visit, or is it the same form and they just edit it?
Again, I'm sorry.
Sorry, Tara?
Same form.
Same form. So you have one form per project in this regard. And each time you go to visit, you edit the form. You don't create a new one. So you just keep going back into the one that you've already submitted, editing it, updating it with new information.
Yes, it is always you work on the same form.
Great. From Dennis, do we have a list of the good brands of floating switches to choose from?
Currently, we have the Dayleaf floating switch. Ben, do we have more? Do you?
Actually, no, we don't have. I think the most famous one is the yellow and blue one. So try to use this one. But
Okay.
also, once we will start working with the constructor and we will ask the BOQ, we will approve if it's working for us.
Okay, great. And is it possible to install more than one energy box on a project? So I assume that means two big, like normal energy boxes, or two minis.
Sorry, again.
Okay,
To
is it
install two energy boxes? That was the question. Probably they mean by in solar project, and Sivan said that it is possible. Again, if the project requires, and it's a special case, but if it needs two energy boxes, we can consider installing that also. It's on the design to be approved, but yes.
It's no problem, really. If the medical center is so big and there are so many rooms and you need to electrify all the rooms, you use two energy boxes. At some point, as Meir said, we're going to be shipping many of them to your countries for you to have them and for you to use as necessary, because we really want to make sure that we are providing the best system possible to your facilities. So yes, it is possible, absolutely.
It's just a budget question, ultimately, at the end of the day, and design. Also, I have to say here, if you all have your prospective solar projects in advance, it is very, very helpful for Meir and I to receive the plans and design as early as possible, because that can help us plan what to ship and knowing exactly per project how many units of energy box and many to be installed.
Excellent. So the final question from Corabo on earthing resistivity. It's a hard one. As the electrical states that its insulation resistance should be more than 1 mega OHM, in case where we obtain a lower value than applicable, is it the contractor's responsibility to fix it, or is it our in-house electrician's responsibility?
I think the practical answer will be, if the resistivity is not as good as standard, we can put a surge protector, and that will protect us in case of not a good enough earthing. But again, it's something I want to discuss with the electricians, maybe even to put a surge protector in all the projects as a standard before the fuses in parallel to everything. And that way it doesn't cost a lot. It's a small component. It's something, again, I also think to send it from Israel with the electrical box, with the fuses and the circuit breakers. It's something I would like to discuss with everyone. I think it will solve such cases, and maybe we should do it across the board. The surge protector covers that situation exactly.
Fantastic. Okay, thanks everyone. That's the end of our questions for this section. Let's move on.
Okay, so now we are going to do for solar projects when there are
And let me tell everyone, guys, we're almost done. We only have 1 hour left and we're done. And I tell you what we're going to try to do in the next 1 hour. Concentrating on those forms. We have 3 forms to review and that's it. The one about the solar. Then we're going to go back to our wonderful Emily, our hydrologist, going to show us the form that the hydrologist needs to complete. And then we're going to go back to our wonderful Shai to show us the form for the water. And that's it. And the reason why it is important for us to go over the forms is because you're expected to use it, to use all of them next week. So please concentrate, ask questions. If you want us to make any changes, we can do it. So 1 hour, 3 forms, let's finalize it.
Okay, so we are finding a bit of a problem to find the supervision form. 1 second. Yeah, we're checking it. Okay, 1 minute.
By the way, Ben was supposed to give us a presentation about how to select a solar pump. But Ben, I believe we're going to have to do it on Monday and only to the electrical engineers because it is very, very deep, right? So I think the electrical engineers will enjoy your presentation and maybe in the future we will give it to everyone. So thank you, Ben, for preparing it. But sorry, because of time, we were just dancing too much. That's the problem.
Okay, so I have, I don't know, good, bad news. We will do the supervision solar form with the electricians on Monday. It is not finalized.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
Very good. No problem. So, Sharon, do we have anyone else ready to present? Emily or Shai?
Shai.
Shai, okay.
Give us 2 minutes if that's okay, just so that we can set everything up.
No problem. 2 minutes it is.
Thank you.
Everyone, are you with us? We can do some stretching. We can do some singing. We can do some dancing.
Oh, that's right.